Good evening, community. Welcome to another Educational Thursday here on both sides of the conversation. I am Mark Scott, getting to stand in for the great John Henry, the bishop who's out in the community. I want to make sure we send our love out to him. And I am joined by my amazing co-host, Miss Ayo White. Ayo, say something to the people.
Good evening, community. Yes, in the bishop's absence, he is out at the In My Bag event in San Francisco, representing both sides of the conversation. Is out there in the community, you guys. Make sure you go out if you can. It's happening right now. We have a great show for you guys this evening, and we're ready to kick it off for you.
Yes, we are ready to kick it off. And it is going to be a great show. As you know, we gather here every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at both sides of the conversation. And tonight is Educational Thursday. We have a brother by the name of Mr. Jasper Smith, aka Mr. Build Wealth. The hashtag is silent. But he's going to be talking to us this evening about being intentional about financial planning for your children. And this is a conversation I think that, particularly in our community, has to be had more often. We were talking just a little bit before the show, and you were telling me about your son, and just seeing that our youth are starting to get an excitement and a thirst for the knowledge around financial literacy is an amazing thing. So we're so glad we have experts tonight to talk about it. So we've got a lot of information to cover, community. I don't want to keep things held up, so we're going to go ahead and move into the world news. And our first headline for world news reads, Biden and Zelensky agree. Ukraine will join NATO only after the war ends. Coming out of the annual summit for NATO leaders, which began with unexpected tension but ended on a note of unity, both President Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky agreed Ukraine's ascension to NATO would come only after the war ended. Also in the news, Megan Rapinoe blames Dave Chappelle for violence against trans people. In a wide-ranging feature for Time magazine prior to the upcoming Women's World Cup, Rapinoe said she had a problem with Dave Chappelle, Martina Navratilova, and Sage Steele for their opposition to transgender women playing in women's sports. I don't want to mince words about it, Rapinoe said. Dave Chappelle making jokes about trans people directly leads to violence, whether it's verbal or otherwise, against trans people. I guess everybody has their opinion. Hefty taxes threaten downtown San Francisco's revival, report finds. Major companies have a laundry list of reasons not to do business in San Francisco. Chief among them, an unusually high and ever-changing tax burden that local officials are attempting to untangle in the face of declining revenue and a floundering downtown. And another headline in the news reads, U.S. regulators investigate San Francisco AI company. The Federal Trade Commission has reportedly opened a probe into ChatGPT developer OpenAI and sent a 20-page demand letter seeking records and documents on how the company has sold and marketed its chatbot technology, as the agency investigates whether its chatbot has broken privacy and data protection rules meant to protect consumers. And also, here's how to get a $10,000 grant to make art in San Francisco's parklets. Listen close. A San Francisco nonprofit is handing out at least 30 grants up to $10,000 each for small businesses and organizations to bring arts, music, and other cultural programs to parklets, sidewalks, and other shared spaces. SF New Deal, the nonprofit administering the program, plans to award the grants for purposes ranging from helping fund mural artists to paying musicians for live performances. And another headline reads, laid off employees say Twitter owes them $500 million. Elon Musk and other Twitter executives shorted thousands of laid off employees $500 million by failing to honor the company's severance plan, according to a class action lawsuit filed Wednesday in federal court. Senior employees who worked from August 2020 through January 2023 were entitled to at least 6 months of base pay upon their departure from the company, the lawsuit alleges. Twitter offered at most 3 months of compensation. And that will wrap it up for the news. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to you, Ayo, so you can give us our community events.
Like I stated before, Bishop is out in the community right now at an event in my bag, which is going on currently now at the African American Art and Culture Complex in San Francisco, 762 Fulton Street. It's ending at 8:30 p.m. So you guys get out there and enjoy some good conversations, some performances, and some open mic this evening. City Kids is hosting a Creator Con, free creative outlets, art, music, and fashion. Save the date, July 14th, 11 a.m. through 12:30 p.m. The event will take place at the 200 block of Jones Street in San Francisco. Heart and Soul Mental Health Peer Support presents No, Not My Son, an original recovery drama by Rodney E. James, this Saturday, July 15th at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Veterans Memorial Center in Redwood City, 1455 Madison Avenue. We at the Beach, Timothy B. plus family and friends at Robert W. Crown Beach, Alameda, Saturday, July 15th, 11 a.m. until sundown. Comedy show and book signing event. Author and supervisor Shaman Walton, July 15th, 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at 2007 16th in Utah in San Francisco. Sankofa Makers Market, Bayview Hunters Point Outdoor Market at the Indian Basin Shoreline Park, Sunday, July 16th, 2023 at 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. San Francisco District 11, Sunday, July 16th, 2023, Excelsior Playground, 579 Madrid Street in Russia, 12 p.m. until 3 p.m. Sunday, August 20th, 2023. Ocean View Park, 650 Capitol Avenue at Montana, 12 p.m. until 3 p.m. Free to the public. Information for Maurice Rivers at omicpp.org. STEM and Sports Camp will be hosted by the SF Rebels basketball doodah activities for youth in ages 7 through 13, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. Early bird program starting at 7 a.m. and aftercare ending at 7 p.m. STEM Camp, you can experience one-of-a-kind activities focused on weekly STEM subjects such as robotics, art and science, culinary coding, along with field trips to local establishments aligned and with the subject of the week. At the sports camp, you can learn the fundamentals of basketball, volleyball, soccer, and 7-on-7 football with emphasis on getting better each day. Lots of skills and agility drills that help kids improve strength and knowledge of the game. There are 2 sessions left. This one ending actually tomorrow, and the next one beginning at 7:17 until 7:28. Each session is $200, but there are scholarships still available. Youth Speaks is hosting Brave New Voices, the world's best poets in San Francisco this summer only. Youth Speaks International Poetry Slam is a festival back for the first time since 2019, a week of live, life-changing in-person events. There will be youth writing workshops and performances by artists and activists, July 20th and July 22nd. 3rd Street Friday Night Market. Support your Black businesses. Shop local men's and women's wear, gift items, music, and fun. Vendors wanted every Friday in July through July 28th, 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. at 1700 Yosemite, right across from Cafe Envy. Police Community Partnerships is hosting Bayview National Night Out 2023, Kids Zone, food, resource fair, and more. August 1st, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. There will be 2 locations, which are right across from each other in San Francisco. The first being at Bayview Opera House, 4705 3rd Street, and the other is Joseph Lee Rec Center, 1598 Oakdale Avenue. City College San Francisco Mission Office is offering free 18-week certificate program with job placement services for office positions in the construction industry. Classes are August through December 2023 at 1125 Valencia Street, San Francisco. Mo Magic will be hosting the backpack giveaway on August 5th, 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. at Ella Hill Hutch, 1050 McAllister Street in San Francisco. Are you looking for a summer experience full of fun, food, and good times for your child at an affordable price? $25 per child per session. The San Francisco Brown Bombers presents Summer Learning Experience for youth ages 5 through 14. Starting Tuesday, June 19th until August 11th. You still have time. Camp is held Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. at 509 Mendel Street, San Francisco. There will be breakfast provided, lunch and snacks as well. Signups occur on first come, first served basis, but the program is still ongoing. B Magic will be hosting a backpack giveaway on August 12th, 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. at Now Hunters Point, 155 Jennings Street in San Francisco. Enjoy fresh goodness, produce, baked goods, and more at the Farmers Market located at the Southeast Community Center, 1515 Evans Street, San Francisco, Thursday through November 30th. 3 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. They accept cash, debit, and EBT. San Francisco Rights Commission has regular bi-monthly commission meetings on the second and fourth Thursday of each month, 5 p.m. in the San Francisco City Hall, room 416. You can also attend via Zoom. This summer marks the 4th annual anniversary of Museums for All, brought to you by the San Francisco Financial Justice Project, offering free $3 admissions, $3 admissions to 22 museums and cultural institutions all summer long for low-income families in San Francisco. OMI Cultural Participation Project, The Lion King, Friday, December 8th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. at the Orpheum Theater, 1192 Market Street in San Francisco. Rows 3, 5, and 6. Contact www.omicpp.org for more information. OMI Cultural Participation Project will also be attending The Wiz Saturday, January 27th, 2024. So you guys got time to sign up for this one at 7:30 p.m. at the Golden Gate Theater, 1 Taylor Street in San Francisco. Promote your business, your nonprofit, or community impact on our Hidden Gems show. Share your expertise on our Educational Thursday, or be a panelist on our Sunday conversation. Keep up with both sides of the conversation, our latest shows. Follow us on Facebook, IG, TikTok, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube station. BSOTC is in search of volunteers. Give back to your community. BSOT would love your support for our podcast, community engagement. We accept all digital forms of payment. Donations are much appreciated. Please visit any of our donation links to support our programming. This Sunday upcoming show, July 16th, will be Levels of Dating. We are continuing our relationship series, you guys. So we have casual dating, committed relationships, and intentional dating. Which one do you fall under? Make sure you tune in this Sunday.
Oh, yes, please tune in this Sunday. I ain't gonna lie, I've been so looking forward to us getting into these relationship shows. And look here, community, please. Y'all share this. Come on, talk, comment. We need your engagement. We're trying to get both sides of the conversation. And I know Bishop, been talking about people throwing rocks at his car. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad. Ladies, are we that bad? Because they thought we ran you off Tuesday. They really thought we ran you off. But
I'm telling you, you guys, like I said, y'all like big brothers to me. I'm unlearning so much, and I get all this information, and I'm soaking it up. I'm telling you, whomever puts a ring on this finger, they're gonna have a lot to make sure that they coming with, because I am praying for preparation and sustainability. And you guys are creating a beast. That's all I can say, you learn how not to be combative, and you learn when to speak. You know that everything does not need a reply and everything does not apply to me. So There's no
Well,
running.
well, well, you've got wisdom beyond your years, young lady, and I'm sure you're gonna make a fine wife one day. But speaking of lessons learned, we have an amazing lesson, and I really don't want to cheat the community out of the opportunity to get this information and this knowledge. So before we bring up our guest, I got to take an opportunity just to read through the bio. I need to do a proper introduction. This man deserves to have a red carpet rolled out for him. So he says he has a mission to inspire and educate people to build wealth and create a legacy for themselves and their families. The hashtag is silent, but Build Wealth Movement is a financial education initiative that encourages people to address their biggest concerns as it relates to their financial status. And people avoid having these serious financial conversations because their fear of embarrassment and judgment. But this brother has a wisdom and a light that he's going to bring to us. So can we please bring onto the platform Mr. Build Wealth? Brother, welcome to both sides of the conversation. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well tonight. It's been a long time since I've been here, so I'm excited to be back. I'm excited about this discussion, and I hope I don't let the community down tonight. So I'm going to do my best to give y'all the goods.
Well, brother, that's all we're asking for. We're going to go ahead and step out of your way. The platform is yours. Please introduce yourself to the people and bless us with your information.
Yeah, so I'll start again. My name is Jasper Smith, also known as Mr. Build Wealth, and I have spent my entire career in financial services, financial planner, advisor, consultant. You know, I just started saying financial concierge because that kind of just encompasses everything, but really just trying to be this resource to people in order to help them no matter where they are on their build wealth journey. And so tonight's conversation is really near and dear to my heart because it's about the financial stuff for the babies. And I have a little baby she's a little over 1 year old right now. And, you know, she really inspired this next wave of my business. Honestly, if I'm being truly honest, like having her was like this life altering moment. And I was kind of already preparing for it. And so prior to having a child, I would talk to parents and my clients around, you know, what they should consider doing when they have children, but also thinking about, you know, what they didn't get as they became adults. And so I just started like doing research, and it was just asking people like, hey, you know, do you have a student loan, whether it was undergraduate or grad? And just people were like, yeah, I really wish I didn't have the student loan. The loan is holding me back. You know, then we started talking about like their careers. And what I found was just people like are appreciative of their jobs, but I've met too many people who'd rather be doing something else. But that something else usually doesn't come with a higher paycheck. So it's more of that heart work. It's more of the stuff that I'm passionate about. And I even have one of my clients is in their 70s, and she used to say that, well, I'm going to work my career for 30, 40 years, and then I'm going to work on my passion. And I kind of heard people say that over and over. And I was like, so you're going to waste your good years when you got the energy and the fire, like you're going to hit the pause button and wait? And so I think sometimes out of obligation, we have to do things. And then I started posing this question to people, and I would say, well, what if you grew up and your parents did what I'm going to share with you tonight? I think about what if parents did a little bit more financial planning for the kids. Yes, I know we talk about financial literacy quite a bit in our communities, and that's great. And we will continue to need that push and that education. But if more parents just got on board with doing a few more things, and it's not super costly or expensive, which I'll talk about in tonight's session, but getting you just kind of think outside the box around how we are raising our children and what we are and or not providing. And so hopefully we can have kind of this paradigm shift in our minds around it's okay to set your kid up for financial success. Because I've yet to meet a parent or even a grandparent who doesn't want to see that little kid grow up and do anything and everything their heart or minds can dream about. So gone maybe will be the days where you have to say no to your child who wants to go to a very expensive college, or maybe there's funding available for that child to be an entrepreneur, and you as the family, or by having assets for them, they can launch their business when they're ready. And so I think for a lot of times in our community, or just communities that are that they label underserved or low to moderate income, they have all these different titles. But what if that wasn't a reality? And so I want to kind of tell you about these. I call them the parent cheat codes. You can call them the financial hacks. But it really stemmed from, this is a real story. So I'm going to share the story first, and then I'll hop into a very short presentation just so I can kind of bullet point and kind of walk you through like the interaction I had with this lady. So this is a real story. This was, it was a long time ago, but I was single and I had no kids. So I was out on the prowl. I think we were, Aya said she's not married just yet, but I was on the prowl. But I ran into this young lady at this event, and, you know, we sparked up a conversation, and, you know, she hit me with the, what do you do? And I was like, God, I hate when that's the very first question at a networking event. But she asked, and I said, hey, I'm a financial planner and I do money stuff, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, oh, I got a question for you. And I was like, cool. So she begins by saying, hey, I'm going through this nasty divorce. So I was like, uh-oh, she's still married. So we're going to keep it professional now. And then she says, I'm going through a nasty divorce and also have 3 kids who are under the age of 10. And I was like, all right, so what do you need? And her question was around, like, how do I really plan for college, or more so just like setting them up for financial greatness later in life? And so I said to her, well, if you could give me about 5 minutes, I'm gonna do a little something on a napkin. And so I literally grab a napkin and I draw this kind of 4x4 diagram. I think, well, maybe I did 3x3, but I added this kind of 4th one after I kind of shared the initial story. But there's really 4 things that I was going to explain to this young lady. And so that's where this presentation comes about tonight. And so what I'll do is kind of walk you through each one and kind of give you the rationale as to why each of these is important. And then I'll also kind of wrap up, or not wrap up, as I go through it, I'll actually kind of explain like how you get this done, even if you feel like you can't afford to do all of this, because I'm living the life that I'm about to tell you about. And so if nobody believes that I'm doing this work, I'm going to have an article that will be shared with the community. It is I'll call like a real life case study that I'm doing with my daughter, who, again, she's a little over 1 year old right now, but we started some things 2 months after she was born. And so I'm doing like a real life case study with these articles. So I wrote the first article a year ago when I set everything up. And then every year on her birthday, which her birthday was 2 months ago, I did an update. And so what I'm trying to do is show people in real time that I'm a real person who's doing the work that he's talking about. So none of this, I'm just telling you, and it's all theory. I'm living it. But when I was speaking to this young lady and I did the napkin thing, like, I didn't have kids, but I just kept hearing the same stuff. And I said, you know what? I think there's got to be a better way. And so with that, let me take a moment here. I'm going to hop into my presentation. It's super brief, but I will kind of walk you through this and really hope that we, we can have a good conversation around it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get back to the very first one. So I'll leave it in this mode, y'all, just for tonight. Yeah, I'll leave it in this mode. Yeah, I like this one. So I call them the parent cheat codes. I'll bypass this. Well, actually, no, I didn't mention this, or this might not have been in my description, but it's really the work that I'm doing is going to disrupt generational poverty. So we talk about generational wealth and legacy, but we're not doing what is necessary to produce that wealth. And so I kind of want to attack it from another angle and really say, well, let's disrupt this impoverished way of thinking, because that's what really it is. It's this mindset of, well, I did this because my parents and grandparents or my cousins, my aunties, my uncles, they did it, but nobody came in to kind of have that, like, that's not right. Like, you should do this. You should consider doing that. And so I'm working to disrupt generational poverty, because if you do this for your kids, and let's say you didn't have this opportunity, but if you set your kids up, the reality is they're going to grow up and also probably do the same thing. And I just know that because I'm a byproduct of parents who did a few things for me and my older siblings. So I almost felt like I can't not do the work because I was given a pretty good head start. So why wouldn't I try to do that same exact thing and even kind of enhance it a little bit for my children? Well, so now I have a child. So I'm kind of living in this world where I'm doing the work and not just giving you the gospel. So I always kind of show this image here, what's my why. And again, I'm married, I have a daughter. And this was, I think, our newborn photos here. And so I said, you know, every time I do efforts like this, I think about like those two ladies in my life. Like they're like, I love my mom, but like mama got pushed to the side because now I got two that I live with. And so I prioritize these women in my life. And the smallest one, we've got to do our job to protect her the best we can, like any other parent will do. But my wife and I started talking about just how would we want her life to be and what are we willing to do to ensure that she has, I'll call them limitless opportunities. It's limitless. Because if you look at people who have grown up with substantial wealth, they move a lot differently than those who don't. Meaning, we have to do certain things because we don't have the money. We have to go to certain schools, or we can't go on certain experiences or trips or events. And so it's like, what if that wasn't an option and we could just be and we could live this fulfilling life? I think that's what every parent wants, and or grandparent, because I know I want that for my daughter. But understanding your why, it's just going to help you. It's going to guide you. Like it should guide you every day you wake up, like forever. So I'm forever thinking about these two ladies in my life because they're really important to me. So actually, let me hop back here. So I speak to this lady. I'm gonna hop back to the store. So I meet this lady at the bar. You know, I pull out the napkin. I draw this diagram because she has 3 kids. And I said, okay, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to go kind of whip it up. I'll show you kind of a rough diagram a little bit later. But the 4 things I was going to do for her, if she could implement these, her kids would be okay. Again, they were all under the age of 10. I said, so you have plenty of time because time is a big factor. But the first one was a bank account. And honestly, this is usually the easiest for most parents. And most people don't need much coaching on this. They kind of do this because people give them money, like for birthdays, the baby shower, the 1-year-old party, like the birthdays, if there are religious things you celebrate. There's always a function that may involve like gift giving. And so having that bank account became one of those. Most parents kind of do this. Just a savings account is probably all they need to start out, maybe until they get an internship or have a small job, or if they're an entrepreneur and really they're doing the work. I mean, maybe they need an account, you know, early, as soon as they start their business. But for most, just having that savings account is a great placeholder. And so there was this study that was done. It was the University of Kansas. And so they did this study, and for children who just had a bank account, ended up being more financially successful. Let me say that again. Just by having an account and the kid knowing they have a bank account gave them a better kind of leg up in terms of being financially successful in life. And so if you're thinking like, how's that? Why is that? Well, the bank account is the starting point. But if your child goes to your bank or credit union, they're going to start to be curious about what the bank does. And so what happens is it opens up this whole world to them of finance. Whether they go into this industry or not, it's just they're opening up their mind to, well, I have some money in an account. Why is that important? And so if you as the parent or the grandparent doesn't want to really go down in that rabbit hole, you just take them to the bank or the credit union and have a professional explain that to them. And so what it does, it sparks this curiosity. So you start with a savings account, then maybe it's a checking account, then maybe it's their first credit card, then maybe it's investments. And so again, the kids are exposed to the area, the arena of financial service. They have a relationship. They have assets. They have money. So if a bank account has not been opened yet for your child, I would highly recommend that you do. Again, what bank or credit union you decide to pick, totally up to you, but it needs to get done. So opening up the bank account. So next this is one of the tougher ones to kind of explain, the life insurance policy. So before I dive into here, when you have a child, you should, as a parent, like review your life insurance. Like, what do you have through your job? If what you have through your employer or job isn't sufficient, you need to get a separate policy that you personally own. And I'm more of a fan of having more of my life insurance personally owned, simply because you might not have that job forever. People get laid off, you lose all of your benefits. There's still some companies where the life insurance and maybe some other benefits are portable, but most times you lose the job, you lose the benefit. So just as a good rule of thumb, as we talk about wealth and disrupting generational poverty, having a kid is a life-changing event. You should reassess how much life insurance you have. Straight up. I'm not even going to beat around the bush. That is something that everybody should consider doing because it's the right thing to do. You have more to protect. The wealthiest people have the most insurance. Why? Because they have a lot to protect. Or if I don't have much in terms of needing to protect a lot, but maybe I want to give the next generation a very good head start. So life insurance as a wealth building tool, it's just good to have so that next generation just will have more money to live off on, to maybe reinvest into something else. So as a parent, again, you want to double check to make sure you have the proper amount of coverage. So for the kid, the reason it's important, and let me say this, it's not because you want your child to predecease you. Let me just say that. It's not because you want your child to predecease you. Yes, if that happens, then you'll have money to pay for those final expenses. But that's not why we're doing this. We're doing it for you'll see the bullet points here, the future insurability. I list flexibility and then this cash value. So let me break it down, each one of these. Most children are healthy. And so as people grow, lifestyles change, you just never know. And so the story I always share is one of my clients was a woman whose family had a history of breast cancer. Granny had breast cancer, an auntie, her mom, she had a slight bout with it. So that was like 4 women right in their family. So she had a daughter. So you having cancer, you're uninsurable. You having other ailments and diseases, and you're just uninsurable. And so for her having a daughter, she just said, I want to protect her future insurability. So she purchased a policy to ensure that no matter what her daughter grew up to be and the lifestyle she selected, she would have some level of life insurance no matter what happened in life. And so you're locking in that future insurability because, again, generally most kids are healthy. Oops, sorry about that. So again, we're getting ahead of things. So this is also important because I have clients now who aren't as healthy because, again, lifestyle choices. And so now it's a struggle to get the insurance or it's extremely expensive. So if you already know you want to have the house and the kids and businesses and be charitable and leave a good legacy, like just having this is going to be something your child is going to need in life. Why don't we just do it now? We can do it right now. My daughter has one right now. But this flexibility piece. So a lot of parents talk about how will I pay for college and other things when the child gets older? Well, this flexibility comes into play where we can structure these policies where we can do like the bare bones minimum, or we can put, I'll say, extra money above what like the premium needs to be to have the insurance. So you can put in, it's called like overfunding a policy. So you could put in more money to help fund this vehicle, which leads us to this third part around this cash value or the equity. So we may start a policy at $30 a month, but we can put in a lot more than that if we so choose to. As long as we're paying, let's say that $30 a month, the policy will stay in force for the rest of this child's life. But if we want to get a little creative, we can definitely talk about that offline, but it gives you some flexibility in terms of being able to add or lower the amount you're putting into the actual policy. But the reason you want to maybe consider, if you can, adding some additional money above the premium is this cash value or the equity. So a permanent life insurance policy, which is what I'm speaking about, is similar to like owning a home. And so most people are familiar that if I pay my mortgage, you know, my loans, my loan goes down, I build equity in the home. That equity is an asset that I can leverage to do a number of things. I can do renovations on my house. I can use that to put my kids through college. Some people use the equity in a home to pay off debt. Some people take the equity and go on a vacation. So it's an asset that you can leverage. The same applies to a permanent life insurance policy where you're building this cash value. So if I'm adding a lot of money to a policy over my child's first 18 years, that's a long time for something to accrue and or compound. That's an asset that the child could use, pay for school, go on a vacation. I'll give you a personal story. My parents leveraged life insurance and bought me a new car when I was in college. Borrowed from the policy. I never had a car payment until I was an adult, like a couple of years ago, because we had a child. So we, a year or so ago when we had to get a new car. But prior to that, I never had a car payment. My parents leveraged the power of an insurance policy to do that. So again, this is one of the hardest ones to explain because of how insurance is sold. But if we structure it the right way and it makes sense for you, it's a great option to consider for your child. It's a great option. And just for those who are somewhat familiar with life insurance, it has to be a permanent policy, meaning the child would have it for the rest of their lives. You cannot do term insurance, which is more of like renting the insurance for a certain amount of years. You can't do term on children. So it does have to be a permanent policy. But again, we're talking about kids. The policies, the premiums are not that expensive. All right. All right. Next up, set up an investment account. Let's get something that's out there. And I say this here, the sooner you start investing, the better, because you give the investment time to compound. And that's the key. If I start this early, I don't need to have a lot of money going into it every month. But if I do a little bit of money over 18 years, and I'm going to keep referencing this 18 years, we should have some money. Like the stock market does well over time. So there's the 529, which is specifically for college. And then you have the UTMA and UGMA custodial accounts. And so these are just investment accounts on behalf of the child. So I may not be certain that college is the route they want to go, but I want to put some money into the market. That's where the UTMA, UGMA account might come into play. If you know college is really where you're focusing those efforts for these investment dollars, you do the 529. Some parents do both. You don't have to, but having some investment account set aside fairly early on means, again, you don't have to put that much money into it. You just put it into the market and let the stock market do its work over time. See, a lot of parents come to me when their child's in high school, like, what are we going to do for college? Time is not on your side at that point. But again, I talk about this 18 years. I mean, think about this, y'all. Every parent is gifted this 18-year timeline. Some parents start very early like I did. Others wait a couple of years and then they do it. And then you have some of these parents who just, the kid is in high school and they're like, what do we do? But we all got the same 18 years. Start an account very young, add a few dollars and watch that thing grow. Watch it grow. So investments, again, is a scary topic for a lot of people as adults. So again, as the parent, you've got to be comfortable with your investments because you're not going to do this for your kid if you don't have a level of understanding of investment. So I do my best to try to educate people on what they're doing so then they understand why this also makes sense for the kids. See, if I get the parents to do the work for themselves, them doing what I'm talking to you about now is very easy. It's not, I don't even have to sell it to them. It's just, when we're going to set this up for the kid. And then you have another kid. When we're going to set this up for the next baby. But we got to have these investment accounts early on in life. Got to have them early. And again, I'll talk about some strategies on how you fund these items. And then the last one is adding your child as an authorized user to a credit card. So I'll read this from the slide. There's no rule that says you have to wait until you're 18 to begin your credit journey. You got to be 18 to do it on your own. But you can start your journey when you get that social security number. And so this authorized user is a way for you to begin your child's credit journey. They don't ever have to physically get the credit card, but you just add them to one of yours. And I kind of put this little disclaimer. This only works if you, the parent, or whoever the card holder is a disciplined credit card user. Okay, so for me, the credit card I use, I have one recurring bill. It was my phone bill. I'm never not going to pay it. So I put my phone bill on a credit card, and that's what I use. So I'm never going to worry about not paying it off or suffering any interest charges. I just pick the card that I don't really use it, but let me use it to get some points, some rewards. And oh, by the way, I'm helping to build my daughter's credit journey. So when she does turn 18, she's going to have almost 18 years of credit history. You know what that means? When she goes to get an apartment, they're going to see that credit. When they do that credit check, we're good. When she applies for that job, they're going to say, oh, her credit report is good. That's not going to be a red flag. See, the problem is when we start at 18 and then we want to start getting internships and jobs, your employer does background checks and checks your credit because it's looking at it's a way to measure your level of trustworthiness and responsibility. Are you responsible enough to pay your bills on time all the time? Or are you late? Or are you just flat out delinquent and not paying anybody? So it's bigger than just adding them. It's just you're setting them up for financial greatness. So if they need to take out a loan, they're going to get the most favorable interest rates because there's substantial history. I've talked to too many people who are like, man, if I just had a little more time to fix my credit, I wouldn't be in whatever their situation is. But what if you just started off and you were already at a 750 or 800? How would your life be different if you already had A1 credit? So add them as an authorized user. So what I did after I explained the bank account, the investment account, life insurance, and the credit card, this is what I did for the wait, it's coming up next. So risk is important. So when somebody, the mother that I had asked this question of like why I do these 4 things, the bank account is not going to make, it's the safest option, but it's not going to grow, but it's important. The life insurance is kind of that in-betweener where depending on how or what type of permanent policy you get will dictate like how risky it is in terms of how the cash value is invested. And then that investment account, I want that to be the riskiest because again, we got 18 years or however long, but we got time. And then the authorized user is just the cherry on top. So the 4 things, right? 4. Now, the authorized user doesn't cost you anything. Everybody could do that right now, like tomorrow, tonight. You could do it right now. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just if you have a credit card that you could use, you do that. Now, I'm learning as I'm going through this real life experiment that not every bank and credit union will report the activity of an authorized user to the credit bureau. So be mindful of what bank or credit union. So if you have to just apply for a new card just to kind of get one, I think that's okay in this instance, knowing that you're not going to really get into any real trouble. So again, be mindful of what card you pick and just being responsible. But the other 3, we think about, well, how much is that going to cost me? So let me show you an example in a little bit, because this is kind of stemming from this lady that I met that night at the event, where you having multiple kids just means the oldest should get the most. Should. They have the least amount of time. The middle, a little bit less, and then the youngest will get the least amount. And again, we're just thinking about where we're starting. So if somebody says to me, well, I can't do everything, well, let me show you some numbers. So here's what I drew for the woman. So I did do a 4x4, but I kind of drew a line and crossed out authorized user because there's no real financial, commitment there. But starting Well, bank accounts may have minimums, so be mindful of those, and investment accounts might have minimums. But here's the trick, because this mother told me $200 a month is what she could afford. And so I kind of did the breakdown, and this is what I drew for her. So she had $200. I broke it out kind of just like this. And I said, you know, we're going to need some family and friends to maybe, if we don't have the extra money to start the bank account in terms of the minimums or the investment account, a family member, grandparent, auntie, like somebody will give you money if you just ask them and you tell them that you're about to set up your kid for this financial future that's awesome. Like somebody will give you that money right now. And so for the mom, I said, don't worry about if you have enough to start, because somebody will give you that money. But if you can make a commitment of $200 a month, then this was the example. Every month, she said, I can do $200, no problem. Well, aside from that life insurance, which you see has $0, I was like, you know, if we need to make some adjustment, and this was just an example I drew for her, I said, well, we can always alter these numbers. But, you know, she asked me, well, where should I focus my efforts? I was like, honestly, it's probably on the investment side. So if I have to alter these numbers, I would always give a little bit more attention to the investment depending on the age of the child. So if the child, again, is a newborn under the age of 5, they got a lot of time. I want to put more money in that bucket to give it more time to grow and to compound. The bank account, steady Eddie, not going to lose anything, but it's not going to grow. The life insurance, that's that future flexible protector item. But again, you have flexibility. So if you got a bonus one year, or you can add money to the policy and increase the premium. So it will give you some flexibility. So somebody still may look at this and say, I can't afford that. Well, we do what we can with what we have. But I haven't met somebody who says they can't afford to do this, and then I see them throw a 1-year-old birthday party. Now, I might strike a nerve on that one, but I've seen some very fancy 1-year-old birthday parties. I've been to some. I've had a good time. The baby didn't know it was a party for them. So when people say, or parents or community, we don't have the money, you sure? I've seen what you spend your money on. I mean, what was funny about this diagram, this isn't that intimidating, because again, it's going to differ depending on, you know, your budget, right? What can I afford to do? And for this mother at that event that night, when I showed her this napkin, I said, look, if you can't do it all today, that's okay. But if I saw you 6 months from now and you hadn't done at least like the setup of all of these, then I know you just aren't ready to do this work, because now the solution has been just kind of given to you. And it was within a price point that was comfortable for you, because she gave me the $200. And then I said, we just will adjust it as we go along. But for this mother, she had 3 kids under 10. I said, we've got time, but we got to get started. And getting started is the hardest thing, because it's almost like, I don't believe this. And again, if you don't believe me, I share my articles with the world about what I'm doing for my daughter. And it is this. It is this model. Again, the price points, people's budget is going to differ, but I am doing this work alongside my wife and our family and our friends. And, you know, everybody who wants to give to my daughter, I'm like, hey, give money. She just turned 1. She got a whole bunch of money, and we didn't get a lot of stuff. We didn't get a lot of toys, didn't get a lot of clothes, because I've been training my family and friends. My baby girl needs money. So here's the trick, right? So if I got a late start, my kid, you know, they're in middle school, we got to get creative. Got to get creative. One way you can get creative, and some people they don't necessarily agree with this, but it's giving your children incentives could help you fund some of these accounts. And the one I always give out is grades. You get a few people who are willing to help contribute. And for every A, maybe the child gets $100. For every B, 50, every C, 20, D's and F's, you get nothing. So now the kid knows, I need to do good in school. And yes, there's that financial incentive, but if a kid keeps making good grades and does well on tests, they're probably going to end up getting scholarships anyway, just because they're going to have good grades. So you as the parent, you still win. Yes, you need to incentivize your kids sometimes. It doesn't always have to be money. But if we're trying to get things funded, got to get creative. Ask. You know, I talk about your family, your friends, and the village. You got to tell the village that you need money. You got to tell them. And you got to tell them all the time. Like all the time. You got to remind them, hey, you know, we really could use a little bit of money for the college account. We really could use a little money for that investment account. We could really use a little bit of that money for the bank account we have for our kid. You got to constantly remind them. And trust me, every family member is not going to get on board, and that's okay. We still love them. But what you got to do is say, if you're going to give my kid something other than money, can you still give a little bit of money in addition to the gift that you're giving? So you're not going to stop them from giving you stuff. But the last time I checked, people get so much extra in terms of toys and clothes that if we just got those gift receipts, when we talk about getting creative, ask for gift receipts. Because a lot of people give gifts to kids without asking what they need. My wife and I included. We got a lot of stuff that we didn't need, didn't want it, but people thought they should give it to us. And I was like, hey, would you mind giving us that gift receipt? Because, you know, we already have 5 of that shirt. We don't need 6. But again, if we don't ask and begin to train and educate and remind, then people will keep spending money on our children that we could be putting into these accounts. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. I'm gonna stop the presentation here. I'm gonna open this thing up. But those are the 4 financial hacks, the parent cheat codes that I try to explain to people. I'm sure there are probably a lot of questions that popped up, you know, throughout the time. So let me take a quick peek here, because that's some heavy stuff. Everybody's not ready for that talk, but I live in reality, and I know we are capable no matter what neighborhood you grew up in. And the reason I know we're capable is because I've seen some babies, they dress flyer than me. And I'm like, the baby ain't got no job. So who's paying for these clothes? And I love seeing the kid or the baby that cannot walk. The baby is in a stroller, itty bitty with a pair of J's on. I'm like, what in the world? I don't even have a pair of J's. But the kid can't, but the kid looks fly and the parents love the compliments. So that's why they keep dressing the kid up when they go out. And I have a daughter, so everybody's like, oh, she's so cute. Oh, look at that little dress. And I'm like, oh, yeah. But we ain't pay for most of those clothes, baby. They were gifted. The community donates clothes to the Smith family. We have yet to buy a lot of clothing because we have friends who have children who are slightly older than my daughter. So we can always just call up and say, hey, y'all got some extra clothes you were going to donate? I'll come by your house and get them. Worth my time and the gas to go get those clothes and shoes and read and let my daughter use all that good stuff. So
I know growing up, I had a lot of hand-me-downs from my big cousin. So that's a tradition that I think we can all connect and relate to. And first of all, Brother Jasper, let me just say thank you, because you've put a very simple strategy and blueprint together that anybody could apply to their child's life. And I'm glad you kind of touched on the mentality behind it, because that's honestly, I think I see the biggest challenge that we have as a community is how do we make this conversation more attractive, more appealing, more normalized. And for those who have the time, it's great. But we know a bunch of people who are late in the game. So can you kind of talk about how your conversation is different? You mentioned getting creative, but if you're just beginning, you've got the extra money to put aside, that's one conversation. But if you're dealing with somebody who's late and they're just trying to survive and trying to think ahead is something that it's a concept for them they honestly can't even afford to think about. So how do you talk to them to get them on board with this strategy that is absolutely needed?
I asked them one question. Do you want to try? Do you want to try to do this? I don't try to convince people anymore. I know what works and what doesn't simply because of my professional experience. But you got to be willing to do the work. And so I literally asked that question because for this mother I was telling you about in the story, I never talked to her ever again. Like I gave her my business card. I said, if I can be a resource to you. So to this day, I will never know if she set her babies up for financial success. I will never know. And so for me, it's I can't worry about not helping her because I got millions of other people that I need to reach. So maybe every 1 out of 10 would just go do it tomorrow. Because you should go do this tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday. It's a weekday. Banks are open. Investment places are open. So give me whatever excuse you want to give me. But then say, you know, if it's important enough to me, you do not ever make the excuse. And so if I'm a little late in the game, I'm always want to acknowledge that we cannot go back in time. So let's go ahead and acknowledge. So don't beat yourself up over what you did not do. Let's start from today. And I got to get them to buy into like, you got to let it go. And what I also got to let it go is the parents who are in this situation, they're still harboring feelings from what their parents didn't do. Now, I ain't no therapist, but I'm like, oh, so you mad. And now your kids have, I'm not going to say suffer, but your kids have been put at a disadvantage because you were like, well, I didn't have it. And then it's like that guilt starts to come out. Again, I try not to go down that road because now we're talking about like you need to go to therapy and work that out. But
I mean, but you are part psychologist. You can't talk to anybody about their money or their children and not have to deal with some psychology.
You do, but I try to get past it quickly. I'm like, hey, you got some stuff to unpack. Now, next topic. So but you got to unpack it. So for that parent who's like, I'm a little late in the game, well, let's readjust our expectations of what success will look like. Can we agree on that? Hey, we don't have 18 years, but we got 3. So can I at least do the savings account and get creative with my ask? Maybe that's all we can do. And that's okay. So I think some progress is still better than no progress. And that's where I struggle when I do these talks and somebody says, man, you know, it was great. You know, I got a kid, and then I never hear from them. And I'm cool if you don't do it with me because I can do the investment account. I can do the insurance. I don't run a bank or a credit union, so you can go choose whomever. Same with the credit card. I can help with 2 out of the 4 from my business. But I never even present. I just say, this just makes sense, doesn't it? And if you say no, I'm going to say, have a good day. I'm not even going to waste my breath. I'm not trying to convince you at this point. And I think this real life case study that I'm doing with my daughter, it's going to be a great story as I keep giving people updates. And then I do occasionally get, hey, man, you know, we're doing this for our kids and thank you so much. We just did it. I don't need the proof because it works. I know what my daughter is worth, and she just got over 1. She's worth more than a lot of people who got jobs right now. Because, of course, my daughter has no debt, but that's another whole conversation. But I'm really not concerned about what hasn't happened when I engage with people. Where do we go from here?
Yeah. Aya, what do you think?
My word for this month is unlearn. Unlearning. Both of my boys, their birthdays are back to back. My boys are 10 years and 11 days apart, August and September. So gift receipts. I got it in bold letters right now. Gift receipts. I, for one, am guilty of the extravagant first birthdays. But also, like you also just made a great point of what I didn't have. You know, it was kind of making up for that lost time through them. But now, making up for the lost time of the financial literacy that I wasn't granted. Mm-hmm. And we were having the conversation earlier of how enthusiastic my older son is about finances. He was fortunate enough to have a great math teacher in 8th grade 2 years ago who got to build his own curriculum and was teaching them about investing and things like that. My son loves math. He loves numbers. He had his first internship, paid internship and apprenticeship last summer. And he was just like, Mom, put this up. Mom, put this up. Mom, put this up. He's working this summer doing something that he really loves. He's into music. So the job he has this summer, he's working in a studio. He's doing a youth program and outreach. So he's enjoying what he's doing and he's making money while he's doing it. So like he just came home yesterday. Here, Mom, put this up. I have gotten him a bank account. Now, for my younger son, though, he has a pre-existing medical issue, which we've been having struggles with getting him insurance, life, a policy. Mm-hmm. But now hearing this setup, I feel a lot more positive about setting up, at least for now, 3 out of those 4 in the I'm gonna say pyramid, 3 out of the 4 of those things, because that's still giving him a leg up, even at 5 years old now, getting him started now. You know, with my older son, I did get a late start and I was feeling like, oh, it's not, I'm making up. But starting somewhere, I feel, is the best thing. Once you get started and you start doing it, I put the money away and I just forget about it, you know, and it's like, I don't really calculate it. It's a part of my monthly bills. It's a part of what's going to come out automatically. So that's one thing that I implement for myself, which has helped actually starting somewhere, you know, with that little bit. So all of this information is just like, I was sitting here cheesing. I know y'all probably saw me like, why is she high-fiving the computer? But all of this information is like, you know, financial, excuse me for lack of a better word, financial crack. Like, you know, you're going to get addicted once you start doing it. And it's like, it's just like, oh my God, I want to learn more. Like I keep these books by my computer, you know, like I keep my journals by my computers because I love these segments that we do. And I really appreciate your presentation because you put it in layman's terms and you didn't like, you know, overwhelm us with the vocabulary about everything. So I'm sitting here like, oh my God, you just made it like plain as day. And your presentation in overall just broke it down to where it's like, you know, these 4 things that you do will set your child up. These 4 things that I didn't even know for myself to implement for my own, you know, financial building are things that I can still implement for myself as well. So hopefully, you know, somebody is gathering this information. I see the comments coming in. So this is really great.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Ayo, because what this does for the kids is it forces the hands of the parents. So your son come home and say, Mom, put this up. It forces you to you got to keep leveling up because he might get it quicker than you because of the internet and all of that. And now how you going to look talking about what you talking about? What was that? So what it does is this conversation of money is generally speaking taboo. We just don't want to talk about it. Although money touches everything that we do, it's not the end all be all, but we should talk about it. And if we just talked about it, our financial lives would improve. Maybe they're not perfect, but we can't even talk about it. And so that's part of the issue that when I come with this, well, here go the mom that I drew this on a napkin within 5 minutes. And I was like, again, it was almost too good to be true for her. So now when I do it, I'm like, don't worry about thinking about it. Am I full of it? Go read my article. There's 2 of them. And I'm going to keep telling y'all what I'm doing. Now, when you decide to get on this train, because the train going to keep going, baby girl going to get bigger. Baby girl going to start having the conversation. Baby girl is going to understand what she's got. And I think part of it is when she turns 18, I just want to interview her and say, look, tell me what you know about money. And they're going to be like, man, this little girl going to be a problem. You doggone right. By design.
Right. That's what I was a little shied away from having the conversation with my son, because it was like I myself was picking up the pieces and trying to make up for lost time. So how would you encourage someone to actually start the conversation with their child?
You don't want to spring it up on them. But I think when we got to use something like this tangible that they can understand, like going out to eat, buying groceries. There's got to be something you're doing in real life of like, hey, you know, we're going to go to X place. Let me tell you how much these tickets cost. and then maybe that's your entree, because you can't just hit on like, I got some questions about finance. You got to slide your way in there.
Something like Monopoly.
Yeah, you know, playing a game, you know, games or whoever their favorite superhero. Like, you just got to kind of bring it down to their level. Like at one point, my niece was into like Paw Patrol, and I was like, all right, so who's the favorite character? I was like, all right, imagine, and she had all these little Paw Patrol toys, and it was like a little ice cream shop. And I was like, yo, so how much does ice cream cone cost? Like, well, it's $20 for a big cone, $5. And she started like throwing out numbers. I was like, oh, she know there's a cost associated with selling ice cream. And so then you kind of have this, it's never a formal conversation with a kid, but at some point it starts to sink in that it's okay to ask the question. And that's bigger than them having the account. And it's just now it's that curiosity, and they got to quench that thirst of like, your kid asks you a lot of questions about life, but not so much about money. Let's add money into those conversations that they're already, well, why you pay for that? You know, you cut the lights off. Well, you know, mama didn't pay the bill. That's what happens. What? So then maybe talk about budgeting. Maybe talk about like the stuff they want to buy at the grocery store. Do you have to get that name brand? Does it really taste that much better? If so, I'm all for the brand name, right? So you have that conversation about choices, because I'm telling y'all, man, people are obsessed with brands, and I do respect if a brand delivers, it's worth the money. But some of us don't need to be paying top dollar for these name brands, and they can get the same quality and level of service, not in all cases. So I think for children, depending on their comfort level with like what's going on in their lives, you want to slip in a conversation that's right in alignment with their level. Kids know more than they let on.
Yeah.
So you don't know what might trigger something, and then you just should jump. Hey, what you asked about? What? Like, I stopped today and got gas for my daughter. So the next, you know, when she's able to talk and say, why are you putting your card in there? I'm gonna say, well, I get points every time I get gas. So when you want to go do something fun, we're going on a flight, I'm gonna have some points, and I'm gonna break down rewards and how I spend. So she's gonna ask a question. I just gotta have a response that she can understand, and it better be super basic. No big words. You know, mommy said I should do this. So next time we want to have fun, I don't have to work harder. I'll just have some money there to go spend and have fun.
And these tools are at everybody's disposal pretty much for the most part. And of course, there are different levels of access. But one of the things you touched on was the study they did on children having bank accounts. And I just want to kind of get a little bit more into your story, because you had the benefit of having parents who had the preparation to have you set up. What was the conversation for you like growing up? What was your understanding of money growing up?
I knew I had some money, but didn't know why that was cool. Like, I had a bank account. I knew I had the investment account. Like, I had a UTMA account. I didn't know that was like a thing, but I was like, I got an investment account, and that's all I would say. So it was like surface level. I got some money. I got a bank account. But, you know, it was like I was having a slightly different conversation. And then I'll say once I started working, I knew to like save money. You know, it's wild. When you start working, nobody talks to like youth about retirement. And so I still kind of get on my parents around like, Mom and Dad, I had earned income, which means I could have started a Roth IRA when I was 15. And so I get on them about like, I could have been putting money. So again, if your child is into like modeling or acting very young, my daughter's done some stuff. I'm like, well, she gets some consistent cash and jobs. That's income. We can do a retirement account, but nobody talks to kids about retirement. Nobody talks to kids about insurance. It's usually saving and budgeting. It's the basics.
But we don't know. Like that. This is the part where, again, I was born in 1976. I'm almost 50. I'm embarrassed and honest to say, as much as I've worked and all the experiences I've had, there are a lot of things that I don't know. So I can't give my child what I don't know. So we have to own that part. Like we owe our children an apology for not knowing better. But I think that was kind of going back to the question I was asking. I think this gives us an opportunity to kind of connect with our children, to show a vulnerable side. Hey, we're learning this because it's important, and I want you to have a leg up when you get to where I'm at. So that's why we're talking about it.
think of it this way. So here, I like using like non-financial analogies. So I can't hoop. Like I can't shoot. I played baseball and football. Like I stayed off the court. Like I can take up some space. So if my daughter or any other kids that we have want to play basketball, they're gonna go get some coaching or like hang out with their aunties and uncles, because I ain't teaching them nothing about, hey, I can watch it, I know the rules of the game. But I'd be foolish. But I'm man enough to tell my kids, I'm horrible at that. And that's just a skill that I'm just not gonna develop, but I know some people who will help you. So I think for sports, we do it just like that. Man, I don't know how to play that. I don't know how to play that. It's like playing an instrument. I have no musical talent. So my daughter wants to play it. You better do it in school. Because I can't read no music. I don't know what that stands. So we can do it in other parts of our lives and be very vulnerable and just like confess that we don't know. But when it comes to money, it's like, just let it go. Because the sooner you let that stuff go, one, they don't even know you don't know. So you can fake it a little while. I mean, at least fake it for like a week. You know, call me. Hey, man, my kid asked me this question. I don't know we have faked a lot of stuff in our lives as parents. I mean, you've done it. I probably got stories for you. Like I lied right to their face. Okay. Try to stop lying.
Don't be lying to them boys. Better tell them boys.
So this is like the perfect analogy. Like I was saying, my son is into music. My father is a musician. Like I can't hold a note. I'm a great shower singer. You can't tell me nothing. However, I don't know the first thing about a Pro Tools to any of that. So I reached out to my dad. I'm like, he's in my bathroom. Well, his bathroom, actually. He's in the bathroom for 2 hours. He swear he in there making a hit record. Daddy, we need help. He's using my computer. He's using all of my stuff. Like, I need help. I need him set up. Like, my dad went out, got him the keyboard, got him an actual big, it's across from me right now, like his whole little setup, big iMac, everything. I asked for help because I didn't know, and he is passionate about it. His internship this summer is with a great program that he gets to work in a studio. He's learning not only, I would never tell him, but you know, his lyrics are not going to get us out it's not going to get us out the hood. I'm just say that. However, giving him other outlets like become the engineer, producer, you know, other avenues that have to do with music, which is his passion. Hey, start looking into this. And he's into a great program where he's actually making money doing what he loves. But now he has an avenue because I was like, I need help. Found a resource. We found this internship. I'm like, okay, I'm about to get him into this. Called my dad. I'm like, he needs, you know, equipment. Where do I start? He's like, I got you covered. No problem. I'm gonna send everything. So being able to ask for help where we fall short as parents, because, you know, you want to put on that cape. You want to say, yes, I got the answer to everything. And yes, I've had to look into his face and tell a bold-faced lie and then have to say, God, you know my heart. Don't charge it to my heart, charge it to my mind, because I just didn't know. But having you and people that are in the financial business and, you know, have the actual tools to help us navigate our children and to make up for the time that we didn't have ourselves as children. And now as parents, where we fall short in the, you know, like I can say, I was financially illiterate to a lot of things. But having these tools has helped me to start not only for my own financial journey, but to start to plan and implement it for my children too. So asking for help, never be too proud to beg. You know what I mean? Asking for help, because we have people like you in the industry that are extending the olive branches for us to go ahead and grasp onto and make sure that we apply it.
Well, the key thing too, Ayo, is, and I do ask that question, are you willing to allow someone to help you? And if the answer is no, I wish you all the best, because you're going to waste a lot of time trying to be an expert in all these things. And if you notice, my 4 things kind of cover investments, insurance, and banking and credit. So I'm not saying there's one thing that's going to take you to the promised land. And even when you think about like wealth building, I mean, people are like, it's all about real estate. Yeah, real estate is great. That's just one piece. Having an investment account, that's one piece. They're all like pieces of your puzzle. but you got to decide as a family or a unit, or like, what's going to be your thing. So like for me, I'm in the industry. My wife's in real estate. So we got a good mashup, but I'm not a fan of like, and I get people on this all the time. Well, I want to buy a house. I'm like, I don't, but I have real estate. And they're like, what you talking about? And so then it's this whole other conversation about, they're called real estate investment trusts. You can buy them in the stock market. I could click a button tomorrow morning and own real estate. They're not going to check my credit. They don't care if I'm black. I ain't got, my credit could be 300, but I could buy, if I got a few dollars in an investment account, I could own real estate tomorrow. But nobody tells us. See, all we think of is that real estate, I can touch it. Not knowing that you can get some of those same benefits by just having the investment. So I think a lot of times during these talks, I've had to learn over time, I stopped trying to pigeonhole myself around being just the insurance guy, just the investment guy, just the college planning guy. No, I do all this stuff. Just tell me what you haven't done and let me help you with that. So I'm gonna make your life easy. I can do all of it, but you don't need or may not want me for all that stuff. Let me help you with one thing. And let me do a bang up job. If it doesn't work, you can run me through the mud. But I tell people this, I have never sold a bad product in my life, ever. I've never had a questionable client call me back, complain. It was the right thing at the right time, but life changes. And so as we think about like financial planning, again, that's why when I talk about the parent cheat codes, again, you do what you can do to start. So again, if I'm late in the game, I can't do all that stuff, but do your best. Do your best. Do something, because doing nothing is a decision. It's just not the right one, because you've already wasted all this time. I'm a hope you do something tomorrow. But again, that ain't my life. Those ain't my kids. So now that I have a kid, I'm giving her all the attention. My wife giving her all the attention. So we just gonna sit here and like, watch how this girl's life is just different from some of her cousins, some of her friends she's gonna grow up with and go to school with, and then she's gonna have to learn how to not say stuff because her friends are gonna look at her funny. I mean, I'm coaching one of my boys. He's got a little boy. This little boy, I think he's almost 3. He has a closet full of Nike shoes. Like, just it's incredible. Like, and all I said to my boy, I said, do y'all own Nike stock for him? The answer was no. So at that moment, this is a real story. He said, talk to the wife. She already got an account, but I don't think she's done it. I said, no. So I hollered at his wife. I said, yo, you about to buy him 2 shares of Nike today or tomorrow. I cashed out her the money, right? I said, Uncle Jasper loves your son so much that if he gonna be decked out in Nike, at least be an owner. So when he dressing fly, he at the game with his back, I said, he is representing his company because now he is an owner. And I said, as he grows up and sees all his friends, he gonna play sports. So they all gonna have Nike deals, or they're gonna do it, whatever brand your team is sponsored by, you'll own some of that company. So when you see the team like, yo, man, they out here making me money, player, he ain't gonna know what that means as a young kid. But I talk to high schoolers and I give that exact same analogy because there's always a kid with a pair of J's and some Nike apparel who plays sports. And I'm like, look, LeBron wears Nike because he got a contract. So it behooves him to have cool gear. You just wearing it and you ain't even that good. You ain't even going like, I mean, at least, like you said, benefit from the fact that you like supporting this brand. Stop laughing. All right, this is how I talk to kids. Hey, look, you want to be cool, have some money in your pocket. And then have your friends supporting your business and your company. And I said, you say it just that verbatim. You wearing Nike supports my company. And they can say my and I and mine because they are legit. If they own that share in their account, they are a shareholder, which means they can go to the annual meeting and show up. I own a fraction of a share. I'm a shareholder. It's ownership. Ownership.
Especially when they kick out them dividend checks.
We ain't going down that road, but you're right. So you set up something dividend paying and they a little kid, and I have some of that stuff in my daughter's account. Yep, that dividend gets reinvested because we're not taking the money. There's that passive income that everybody, I want some passive income. Just own some shares that's kicking out a dividend. But wait, We don't know enough about investment. So it's like, oh, what you talking about? I'm like, all right, I ain't working for money some days. It ain't as much as I want. But if I keep adding those shares, that dividend grows. So if you have a young child, let's say they did own Nike, which pays out a dividend. Give that thing 18 years to grow. I don't think it's going to be, buy some Target stock. Pick anything on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The 30 stocks that are highly traded, big companies that are probably never going anywhere. Google, Meta. I can go down and let's Apple. Everybody got an iPhone, but don't own Apple stock. It's weird to me, but whatever. You got the computer, the watch, the earbuds, and you don't own no Apple? You playing. You're just a consumer, and that's okay. Let's get you to be an owner in addition to being a consumer. So all of this, y'all, as you can tell, it opens up this whole can of worms of, I was just talking about the kids, but what it does, it really forces the parent or the guardians or whomever, I got some questions. What you got questions about? So all it does is, if you're ready, you have the conversation, and I try to be as objective as possible, because I watch the financial influencers on all the various platforms. They're very kind of siloed because that's maybe all that they can offer. And so I don't fall into that realm of, I'm just gonna try to sell you on this today. I'm doing bigger concepts that are really gonna set you up long after I'm gone. So people will hold me in high regard as I continue to help them to set these things up. And then I get the satisfaction of, like, a parent saying, my kids, we did the account when they were little, like they're in high school. I'm like, man, they got a few thousand up in there. Like, when they going to school, like, it's like I feel proud. Like, man, I did something that was incredible to where, and it may not be everything for school, but if your kid just applies themselves, they can probably find scholarships and grants. Maybe they have athletic or artistic talents to get them additional monies. But then now you've got this other backing of money that was there. And again, I just feel compelled to do this because I didn't have a student loan. I went to school and went on a baseball scholarship and some academic money. And then the rest of the years, just the money my parents saved and invested. So my college experience was phenomenal. I wasn't worried about my books. I won't worry about standing in a financial aid line. Like, all them stories you hear about people who hate their school and financial aid, I have no clue. I cannot relate to you. Because I got lucky and I was the third one born. I got lucky.
That's the gift we trying to give to the rest of the community.
Mark, you said the word too, man. If we normalize this, because here's how I think like on this crazy scale. What if when a kid was born, like at the hospital, birthing center, at the house, like the baby pops out, however the baby comes out, let's say that. And then somebody slipped them an index card that was those cheat codes I just talked about. Hey, look, something you might want to do. Because those first couple of months, the mother is recovering. So you got time. So you do it in those first couple of months when you ain't doing nothing but just resting. So then if you do have to go back to work, you're like, all right, cool. I set them up. So again, I did my daughter's stuff. We did it within 2 months. We just waited till we got our Social Security card, and the day we got it, it was on a Thursday. I opened up everything on that Thursday. So I didn't wait.
And honestly, I think that is a great idea. I think we need to have a business idea here, right here. It's just coming up. We need to put together a package, a newborn package for every mother that's expecting, every family that's expecting. When they're born, when you show up, you have the cheat code with them. And maybe their first bank account or like just have, here's what we're gonna do for the baby, their first stock, their first investment. Like, we're going to literally, instead of giving them a bunch of clothes they ain't gonna need to wear and a
during
bunch
the
of
baby
toys they
shower,
don't need to play with,
during the baby shower, put that on your registry.
This is the registry now, the cheat code.
So what's wild is I'm working on that as we speak. So I talked to enough parents who were like, man, you should. I got the skeleton. I got the outline, and I've been massaging it, getting feedback, because that's exactly what I'm working on. So then you can't say, nobody told me I should do this, because we good for saying nobody told you. You just won't listen. And then you want to look back and blame everybody for what didn't happen. But again, it's just, if we normalize this, just like we normalize the not the baby shower, the gender reveal. That's the one that also, they don't even know what the kid is, and they bring gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Then you do the 1-year-old birthday party, and I pick on the 1-year-old because my niece had this incredible 1-year-old. Look, I had food was good, snacks were good. I love the little fun stuff. I mean, I had a good time, and I'm an adult, and so and this is all these life events that I watched. So my niece got all these gifts. It was these big bags with fluffy stuff and boxes. She could care less about what was in the box. She was just playing with the little furry stuff on the box, playing inside of a box. And I said, you know what? I'd rather we not have any boxes and just have envelopes. Or y'all just give me cash or digital money where you walk in, you scan my QR code and say, "Hi, which bucket do you want to fund?" And I tag it. So so even if you don't have the account set up, you still get the money, mom and dad.
And don't spend it either. And don't be putting no cable, no cell phone, none of that stuff in your kids' name, because we are trying to set them up for the future, not ruin their credit before they get a chance to start.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because there's so much that we could cover, but go ahead, Io.
But, you know, something that Bishop always says is about ownership. And I'm glad that you said that, because that is a great point. And that is setting our children up for ownership. You know what I mean? And giving them this one leg up and giving them this head start to it being a natural thing. Like they won't know any difference. You know what I mean? Like they won't see it as, oh, yes, maybe I need to implement it. It's just a part of the nature of the way that they are. You know what I mean? That is the greatest idea. Like you said, like I said, I'm guilty of the extravagant first birthday. Like when you say food, the everything, like it was booming. It was. Both of my sons are the first boys. So it was like everything, like, and they're 10 years apart. So it was like I was at 2 different 24 and 34. It was 2 different stages, but their parties were so extravagant. I'm not going to say the dollar amount, but that would have been a really good leg up for both of them. You know what I mean? And then, you know, you put on these extravagant parties and everybody else is having a great time. And then when you do look at the gift table, you got 3 gifts. Like, what just happened? You could have poured all of that back into your kids. You have gender reveals and a baby shower nowadays. So you have 2 extravagant events that you're pouring money into. Just think about all of that money that you pour into these events, and or like you said, all the Nike. We want our kids to look nice and all these things. It's more about the flashiness and putting on a fashion show than them just being presentable and clean and stuff like that. I, for one, was guilty, especially with my older son. I wanted him to have all the nice things. But one thing I did do was his first stock that we bought, first investment, was Nike. It was down to $121, and I was watching it. It went to $121. I boomed on it, and I got it for him. So he does pride. That's why I started laughing when you said that, because he does pride himself in that. Like, yeah, y'all putting money in my pocket. You know, he does pride himself on that. So that's one thing. He is an athlete. He plays all sports, from wrestling to track to football and basketball. So we have to we have to get him the equipment. He has to have special cleats and shoes and all these things. So also now I'm thinking of investing in other type of sports gears as well, because he's doing so many different things, not just Nike, but the different apparels and different things like that he can actually be seeing that he's pouring money into. So that's another good idea.
Yeah, the sports thing is interesting because there are very few professional franchises you can own or have ownership in. I won't go into detail. There's only a few, but if a kid's really into a certain team or sport, again, a lot of this is private stuff, but like there's a group that owns like the New York Knicks, the New York Rangers hockey team. Like, if you were in New York, you could own the group that owns like Madison Square Garden, the Knicks, the Rangers, and it's like some soccer team. You're like, so if you're into sports, you could own the company that owns the teams, but nobody is telling us that we can be the consumer and we can be the owner. See, we live in this, we're just a consumer. I'm cool if you want to look fly, but own some of the company if you can. If you can. It's possible. Because I know you spend enough money supporting that brand and or that store. If we diverted a little bit of that money to buying a couple of shares here and there, we change our outlook and we end up having a lot of wealth because all we did was just start early. So even if for my daughter's account, or I asked my parents what they did for my brother and myself. And that's how I came up with the napkin idea, because my brother's 4 years older and then my sister's 14. So life was different for my sister. And then they're like, oh, we got to do something different if we keep having kids. So they started learning and asking questions like, okay, we're going to do this for the next one. And then I popped out 4 years later. But then my mom and dad were like, you didn't get a lot of money up front because your brother had less time. So I didn't create this model. I'm just mimicking what was told. And now as an adult, even when I first became a financial planner, I started jamming my parents. So I was like, yo, man, what don't y'all know about this money game? Because y'all gonna make me mad. Because now I'm in the business. But my parents were, to your point, Mark, they were vulnerable and told me exactly where they were and what they did know and didn't. And they were like, every parent wished they could do a lot of things differently, but most of them do well enough. And I was like, all right, I guess y'all did all right. So, but as you think about generational wealth, my parents did pretty good. My goal, do a little bit better. My daughter, niece, and nephew, their goal, do a little bit better. Now, my niece, nephew, and daughter have kids, their kids, do a little bit better. So all we're doing is, they say success breeds success, iron sharpens iron. Well, we got a lot of iron, and we're just molding it into this, the Smiths stay balling, whether the market is good or bad or jobs or just wealthy people, they don't sweat like the average person, and they have issues. It just looks a little different. And I want to get to that point to where, I'm not going to apologize for my privilege. And I use privilege on purpose because people think it's more of a negative thing. But I was like, you ain't really talking about black people when you talk about privilege. And people get in their feelings. I was like, here we go. We have got to get out of our feelings because business does not care about your feelings. The stock market does not care about your feelings. The real estate market cares zero about your feelings. And yet when I talk to people and I strike a nerve, they get in their feelings and then like, he talking bad about me. Nah, I'm just talking facts. And maybe just you're not ready to deal with the realities of the world that I live in, because I thought it was the same world that you live in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I just saw an amazing question here. And I know we're kind of running up against time, and I want to give you an opportunity to wrap up and give your shout outs. But if we get this strategy in place and we get to building some wealth, how do we prepare our children to take on that wealth that they're going to take on so they don't squander it going forward? And I'll let that be the last thing, let you wrap on that and then give your shout outs.
I think I saw this pop up in one of the chats. It's having the estate plan. So like your wills and the trust, you got to have both, not just the will. It needs to be the will and trust. So then it's protected and y'all ain't going to probate court. So that's what the parents need to do. The grandparents need to do it. The parents need to do it. And then what you do is you share what you set up with the kids. It ain't hard, y'all. And I'm saying it's not hard because my parents did it. Set up their wills and trusts. And my dad emailed, he said, read this packet so y'all don't act funky when we up out of here. And my parents, we just real. We're not sugar. He was like, we might leave y'all a few dollars. Might. He says might on purpose. They trying to spend that money before they die. And they're like, we're going to spend as much as we can. Then if we have something left over, y'all going to get lucky. And so at least I'm aware, we talk about it with the family. So you got to have some family meetings, and that's how you do it. So when your child or your children are at a point where they're asking those questions, you slowly share with them the playbook. So the example I'll end with is Warren Buffett talks about how he's not leaving his kids any money and he's leaving it all to like charity. but his kids don't need no money because they've already had an incredible head start and they know exactly what daddy does, so they're going to be okay. So they really don't need his money because he's giving them the playbook. So if you can leave your children a playbook, you're going to make updates to the playbook as you go through life. As things happen, you make updates, and every time you make updates, you tell your kids, hey, y'all, I don't like you no more, so you ain't getting no money. So if you act right, I'll write you back in. And you just be real. Everybody's got the kid. If you have multiple kids, you know the kid is going to take care of you when you get old. You already know that. So they should get the bigger piece of the pie and the house. They should get, because they going to show up and help mom and dad out. But the ungrateful kid, hey, look, man, you better start making amends right now. You better start calling me every day, giving me hugs, saying you love me. You know, you just, if you can have that honest conversation, and I'll use this as a pun, from both sides, you have the conversation. If we have the conversation, our kids will be well informed. And if they squandered after that point, you did what you could. You do what you can with this time you're here on this earth. You leave it in a certain situation. You hope they improve and enhance it and not go the other direction and blow it. So that's how you do it.
Wow. Well, brother, with that being said, are there any shout outs, anybody that you want to acknowledge in this journey? I know a lot of people are going to be looking forward to tuning into you and your daughter's journey, but who would you like to give a salute to?
I'm gonna give a salute to John. I mean, I know he's not here tonight, which I'm a little upset about, so I'm gonna have to let him know but I know what he does, right? But I appreciate this platform because as long as one person listens to this and executes, I did my job. Whether I meet them or not, whether they call me, email me, go to my website and check me out, if I don't ever hear from them, but they go do the work, I can rest well knowing that I gave out some great information that will be life-changing. So I appreciate you all for just having this platform, and it's the consistency for me, right? Y'all do this every week. It's like, yo, if you can't see they're not trying, you ain't paying attention. And I'm trying to do the same thing I'm just staying in my space of I'm the money guy. So I'm not trying to do everything for all. Look, I have my causes I support, but I stay right in my lane. And you all do that with the information and education that you offer to the community. You have that reputation, like you're trying. It's just, when will people listen, and will they listen and then move forward and execute the plan? All this, well, knowledge is power. Not if you don't execute and do something with the knowledge. It's just useless knowledge. You smart as I don't know what, but don't nobody know you smart. You got the greatest product in the world, but you ain't told nobody it's for sale. So we got to keep sharing these stories and opportunities for people to engage with us and say, look, if y'all think, again, don't believe anything I told y'all tonight. Just keep following me every year on May the 12th. That's when I'm doing my yearly update on my daughter's birthday. You're going to see an update about how awesome her financial life is becoming. And what it ends up being, I know it's going to be incredible. Don't you want that for your kids? Because I want it for mine. And even more kids that, I'm there. They're not mine physically, but I love all these babies. And I know that they have time. If you've given up as an adult, we got to talk about that, but don't give up on these babies because they are here. You love them. Let's do all that we can to make sure that they can have it 1,000 times better than you did.
Couldn't agree more, brother. Well, thank you once again, Mr. Smith, AKA the Mr. Build Wealth. #silent, brother. It's been amazing. Honestly, I think you need to be in our culture. We need to put men like you up on a pedestal the same way we do the Jay-Z's, the Lil Waynes, and everybody else, the LeBrons. The information that you bringing, if we can just embrace it as a community, would move us forward in ways that I think would be monumental. So thank you once again for your contribution here on this Educational Thursday.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for having me. And again, if there's anything I can do to support the organization or any of your viewers or listeners, I'm not hard to find. So if I can be a resource, please let me know. I'll do whatever I can. And if I don't know, I will refer you to an expert, because I'm very good at a few things, and I'll be very quick to say I don't do that, but I know somebody that does.
All right. Well, there you have it. I know our team will be in touch, and I know Bishop will be in touch, because he couldn't be here to see you. You have a good evening, brother.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, Jasper.
You're very welcome.
Well, Sister I.O., come on now, sis. Tell me what you think about tonight.
Amazing overload of information. I just know now, admittance is the first step. You can't learn what you don't admit that you don't know. And making sure that you build yourself up in a way that you are setting your children up for success. One great thing that he said this evening is, putting all these name brands and putting all this money into making sure that your child looks good, but it's more important that they have that financial stability and foundation so their life is good. Longevity. We want longevity for our children, our communities in general. We want longevity because our children are who are going to run this world. We are at an age already to where we know some of us are checking out even sooner than what we expected. And at this time, it's so important to pour all of the knowledge that we gain into our children and to set them up for success. It's okay to want financial success for your children. It's okay to say, I don't know. Who can I reach out to and learn these things? It's okay to not be okay with where you are financially, but making those sacrifices is what's important. Learning how to compromise, put your head down, hustle, and get to it, because time is not on our side. Time is of the essence, and we have to make sure that we take advantage of every moment that continues to grow. And we make sure that we take advantage of shows like ours when we have these wonderful, wonderful guests come on, and we take this knowledge and we apply it to our day-to-day lives. So I'm just very fortunate that I was able to be on tonight. I'm very thankful for all the knowledge that was shared tonight, because I, for one, am definitely going to apply a lot of what he taught this evening to my own self. So thank you again, Jasper, for all your great information this evening.
Absolutely. Truly a king that we had here this evening, sharing some wonderful information. And again, on behalf of the bishop, I want to thank you, community, for tuning in. Please share this video, support us, reach out to Jasper. We need to have this kind of information be normalized and made an important, integral part of our community, because nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's going to take care of our children if we don't lay the foundation for them to have a better future. Then that is going to be on us, and our children definitely deserve better. I was reminded of an old song by the late great Whitney Houston, where she said, I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Those lyrics have more meaning today for our community than they ever have. Our children are our future. So let us all be committed to doing what we can do now. It doesn't matter if you're getting a late start, if you're early, or if you're just somewhere in between. Now is the time to start to build a better future. And please don't hesitate to reach out, because we are here to build the community. So once again, for both sides of the conversation, this has been another fantastic Educational Thursday. On behalf of the entire BSCOT family and team, we will say good night.
Good night, community.